Have you ever wondered what it would take to change the world? Not just a little bit, but to upend thousands of years of tradition, belief, and power in a single lifetime? Today, we travel back more than 3,000 years to the golden sands of ancient Egypt to uncover the story of a pharaoh who dared to do just that, a king who declared war on the gods themselves, and in doing so, might have changed the very way we think about God. This is the story of Akhenaten, the heretic king. Our story begins in Thebes, the magnificent capital of the New Kingdom. Imagine a city teeming with life, its skyline dominated by colossal temples dedicated to a pantheon of gods. There was Amun-Ra, the king of the gods; Osiris, the lord of the afterlife; Isis, the divine mother. For centuries, these deities had governed every aspect of Egyptian life, from the flooding of the Nile to the journey of the soul after death. The priesthood, particularly the priests of Amun-Ra, held immense wealth and political power, second only to the pharaoh himself. It was a system built on tradition, a spiritual bedrock that had remained unshaken for millennia. But in the 14th century BC, a new pharaoh ascended the throne. At first he was known as Amenhotep IV, a name that honored the great god Amun. But this young king had a vision, a radical, earth-shattering idea that would set him on a collision course with his entire civilization. He looked at the hundreds of gods, the complex rituals, and the powerful priests, and he saw something different. He saw a single universal force, a power that gave life to everything. He saw the sun, not as a symbol of a god, but as the god itself. He called it the Aten, the radiant disk of the sun. In the 5th year of his reign, the unthinkable happened. The skies of Thebes trembled, not from a storm, but from a royal proclamation that shook the very foundations of Egypt. Pharaoh Amenhotep IV declared that the hundreds of gods were no more. There was only one true god, the Aten. He changed his own name to Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten. This wasn't just a minor religious shift. It was a revolution. Akhenaten ordered the closure of the grand temples dedicated to the old gods. He dispatched workers across the land with a chilling mission to chisel away the name of Amun-Ra from every monument, every obelisk, every sacred inscription. Even the plural word gods was ordered to be erased. Imagine the shock and fear rippling through the populace. The gods they had prayed to, the deities their ancestors had worshipped for generations, were being systematically erased by their own king. The powerful priests, stripped of their influence and wealth overnight, watched in fury as their world crumbled. But Akhenaten wasn't just a destroyer. He was a creator. He abandoned the ancient capital of Thebes, a city he now saw as corrupted by the old beliefs. He led his followers deep into the desert, to a virgin site midway between Thebes and Memphis. There he founded a new city, a sacred metropolis built from scratch, dedicated solely to his one true god. He called it Akhenaten, the horizon of the Aten. Today we know it as Amarna. This was to be his utopia, a city of light. Grand temples, open to the sky, were built to allow the rays of the Aten to flood the altars. There were no dark inner sanctums, no hidden idols. Worship was direct, personal, and centered on the sun's life-giving energy. Art from this period underwent a dramatic transformation. For centuries, Egyptian art had been rigid, formal, and idealized. Pharaohs were depicted as perfect, godlike beings. But under Akhenaten, a new style emerged, one of shocking realism, almost caricature. Akhenaten had himself depicted not as a muscular, heroic warrior, but with an elongated skull, a slender neck, a potbelly, and wide hips. His wife, the legendary Nefertiti, and their daughters were shown in scenes of unprecedented intimacy, playing, eating, and mourning. It was a royal family presented as deeply human, a stark contrast to the divine detachment of his predecessors. Was this a true representation of a physical condition, or was it a deliberate artistic choice? A way to show that he and his family were different, a new kind of human to lead a new era of belief? Scholars still debate this today. In his new city, Akhenaten was more than a king. He was a prophet, the sole intermediary between humanity and the Aten. He composed beautiful hymns to his god, poems filled with a sense of universal love and creation. One of them, the great hymn to the Aten, bears a striking resemblance to Psalm 104 from the Bible. It speaks of the Aten as the creator of all people, in all lands, each with their own language and skin color. It was a vision of a single God for all of humanity, a concept that was utterly revolutionary for its time. He wasn't just replacing Egypt's gods. He was proposing a universal monotheism, an idea that would echo through history long after he was gone. But while Akhenaten was lost in his spiritual fervor, the world outside his city of the sun was in turmoil. The Egyptian empire, built by his warrior ancestors, began to fray at the edges. Vassal kings in Syria and Palestine sent desperate letters, pleading for military aid against invaders, letters that were largely ignored. The economy, disrupted by the closure of the old temples and the massive cost of building a new capital, faltered. The common people, far from the capital, were confused and resentful. They missed their familiar gods, their festivals, their amulets that promised protection in this life and the next. The brighter the sun of Akhenaten's vision burned, the longer the shadow of discontent grew across the land. Akhenaten's reign lasted for 17 years. Upon his death, the backlash was swift and brutal. The old order, so violently suppressed, came roaring back. His son, a young boy named Akhenaten, was put on the throne. The powerful priests and advisors around him quickly forced him to abandon the Aten. He changed his name to Tutankhamun, the living image of Amun, a name we all know today. The court abandoned the city of Akhenaten, leaving it to crumble back into the desert dust. The temples to Amun-Ra and the other gods were reopened and restored to even greater glory. And then the purge began. Akhenaten's successors initiated a campaign to erase every trace of the heretic king. His name was hacked from king lists. His statues were smashed, his face recarved, his monuments dismantled and used as filler for other buildings. The goal was damnatio memoriae, the damnation of memory. They wanted it to be as if Akhenaten had never existed. For nearly 3,000 years, they succeeded. He became a ghost, a forgotten footnote in the grand tapestry of Egyptian history. But history has a way of remembering what people try to forget. In the 19th century, archaeologists excavating in the desert stumbled upon the ruins of a strange lost city. They found the boundary markers, the unique art, the letters from foreign kings, and the hymns to a single sun god. Slowly, painstakingly, the story of Akhenaten was pieced back together. The heretic king was resurrected from the sands of time. So what is Akhenaten's true legacy? Was he a madman whose obsession nearly destroyed an empire? Or was he a visionary, a philosopher king born centuries ahead of his time? He failed in the short term. His revolution was completely undone. But the idea he unleashed upon the world, the idea of a single, universal, loving God, did not die with him. Some scholars, including Sigmund Freud, have speculated whether Moses, who lived in Egypt, could have been influenced by Atenism, while there's no direct proof. The parallels are fascinating. Akhenaten planted a seed. He proved that a human mind could conceive of a single, all-powerful deity, a creator of all mankind. He challenged the very nature of religion and forever altered the landscape of human faith. He was erased from stone, but his idea was etched into the consciousness of the world. Perhaps Akhenaten didn't just change the gods of Egypt. Perhaps in some small way he helped shape the God we know today. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. What do you think of Akhenaten? Was he a hero or a heretic? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the mysteries of history. We'll see you in the next one.